welcome everyone, AI Summit. We're really excited actually for this session. I'm joined by Jonathan Kvarfordt, the one of the more expert when it comes to go-to-market strategy, and he has a very interesting profile, being a coach and an enablement professional. I think that he is uniquely qualified to give you really some great not only framework but some great advice on how to get the most out of AI. And we already talked with Jonathan about this. Is we are firmly standing on Team Human. We really want to enhance humans, not replace them
Yeah.
by AI. And I think that he's going to give you some great tools and some great recommendations on how to get the most out of your AI projects going forward. So, Jonathan, without further ado, please enlighten us about what you have done
Oh,
and help people get the most out of it and get away from the hype and not get too disappointed
the
with some of their experiments. Let's put it that way.
yeah, the hype is real. Well, first off, I'm a big fan of the sales intel team. It's been an honor to be able to be involved with. I think this is the third round, which I just want to say first off, thank you so much for including me. And just as you and I have talked, Johan, I'm a big fan of you. So I just appreciate your insight. You have really, really cool things you're doing, the way you think. Like that's why I'd love to do this with you because I align with what you guys believe in. So I just want to say thank you. I think it's killer. Um, so first off, it's so good to be here. There's so many good things to go through. I'm gonna bounce around a little bit, but it's all gonna have a pattern around how to think about AI for go to market. So I'll be going over some prompting philosophy, some specific examples of like where I think we are, where we're going, and then hopefully go through some use cases of how to think about what AI could do for you, and hopefully it'll give you some insight of where you can focus your energy, if that makes any sense. So as we go through this, like please, Johan, interrupt me anytime you want because I'd love to have this be more interactive as we go. I'm going to show some slides and hopefully give away some things that people can be practical and actionable. Like I don't like just to have a talk session and actually give some value. So hopefully we can do that. So let me grab one thing. I'm going to get my sheet up because I'm going to show some visuals. All right, let's begin. Okay, let me share my screen real quick. And voila. So I run what's called the GTM AI Academy. I've worked with thousands of people over prompting and AI strategy and practical applications. And my moniker is this: business impact over just learning tools. I don't want to just have you play with tools all day. I want to actually have some impact. So, if you don't know about me, a really quick intro to myself. My name is Jonathan Kvarfordt. Some people call me Coach. Long story short, I worked in a company where there's literally half of us were named John, and so we all got nicknames, and mine was Coach because I was the enablement leader at the time. And from there, I've just been it just stuck for whatever reason, and it's nice because not very many coaches. So I'm the head of GTM Growth at Momentum. We're an orchestration platform for go-to-market teams. We our kind of tech like works really, really well with like a sales intel, which works more front end pipeline. We do more of like the customer journey. And I'm founder of Go to Market Academy, and then these companies below are the ones who I have consulted with or worked with in the past or advised currently. And then I also teach at Bryant University at nights the AI for sales and AI 101 class for the professional in place. So before we get into it, I'm curious, Johan. I'd love to have people listening in. Tell me where you are right now. I'd love to know like what's your comfort level. Would you put yourself as a black, an olive, whatever that color is, a salmon, pinkish, or a blue, which is a very, very middle one? So and there's no right or wrong, but your own perception. Where do you think you are? Put it in the chat. And Johan, what do you think? Where are you?
I would say I was very mediocre before AI came into play. Now I write better. I'm
Yeah.
structured more than I was. I'm able to do actually a lot more than I used to be just
Yes.
a few months ago, thanks to AI and the few tools that I've been leveraging. I would say the
Yeah.
ability to fight the blank page. Um,
Mm,
issue is what has boosted my productivity the most in the last
totally.
few
Like,
months.
yeah, it's so nice to get you past the point of like going, okay, where the heck do I even start? Which one of these colors would you put yourself on?
I would say red.
Good. Yeah, the pinkish reddish, whatever that color is, I
Yeah,
love seeing people's comments because it gives you a good flavor of where everyone's at as far as like level. Um, and it's encouraging because when I first started showing this visual 2 years ago, everyone was definitely in the black, and now it's more moving up, which is I love seeing that pattern. Um, but it's interesting to see how people apply this. And I just like knowing where people are so I know who the heck I'm talking to. So a couple things around AI, it does require a mindset shift. The first one is this, is that there's two worlds happening right now. The first one is AI is being used to do what we used to do the old way faster. That's one version. And then AI is also being used to do things in a totally new and different way. And I think you have to be willing to think about AI in both perspectives. How can I use what I'm doing now to go faster? And then how can I do something totally new that's better because the technology enables me doing something different? So in general, and this is with any tool, it doesn't matter if it's a ChatGPT, Sales Intel, whatever. It's the data that goes in. If you want mediocre results, you put mediocre directions or data. And if there's a problem with AI, most of the time the problem is you. It's a very good self-reflection exercise. It's not necessarily the tech. It's kind of like I know you guys aren't an AI SDR, but I'll use this as an example. I've had a lot of people who use a technology like that, and then it doesn't work for whatever reason. But the reason why it actually didn't work is because the company did not define their ICP or had good messaging, or they didn't train the model well enough to perform, but they blame the AI. And the AI gets scapegoated when it's not an AI problem. It's a company direction and ICP fifth problem. So it's understanding like the capabilities of AI that you need to give it directions or context to make sure it can perform. And ironically, AI forces us to become better communicators. You agree with that, Johan? You feel that way with AI?
100%. I think my wife would love this two slides from you. I wonder if you talked
I
to
know.
her before that, before getting on on with me.
Yeah, my wife feels the same way. Like how I communicate now versus 2 years ago is way different because of AI. Interesting stat from a few months ago. Half of the people who signed up for ChatGPT, the paid version, canceled after 1 to 2 months. And the question is why? Mostly because no one has taught us how to talk to AI. We don't know how to do it. So therefore, we don't know how to get the value out of it because most people talk to it like a Google, and that's not how it's meant to be spoken to, you know? And so you, Johan, if you were, let's just say you just went on to the British baking show and you won the show and you're an expert cake maker, and I say, Johan, make me a cake. What kind of cake would you give me?
I would ask you what type of cake you would like to bake first, and what is it that you would like to bake? I would like to
Right.
give you a little more direction. I think that bake me a
But
cake.
what let's just say you couldn't ask that. If all I gave you was you make you a cake and you couldn't ask any questions, you have to go make a cake. What would you do?
Oh, I would ask AI, give me the cake that is the most popular right now, and especially in that
You
location.
go to AI.
I
There
will.
you go. I love it.
I would give it a little context to make sure that I don't miss the mark too much.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you do what most people like. I gotta make a cake. What do I do? But if I came to you and I said instead, chocolate cake, sugar healthy replacement, whipping cream, cherries, natural cocoa, 3 layers, wedding themed for, or I should say, wedding for an Elvis themed wedding, then you as an expert cake maker could do much better. Not because you're unable to do a good job before, but because I did not give you good directions. Even you're an expert, right? So I'm going to shift gears because now we talked about mindset. I'm going to shift because there's another mindset that needs to be aware of. And let's talk about agents. So Sales Intel has some agents working in the background. Yes.
We do have a few, and we're adding some every month almost. Yes.
Good. I want to help conceptualize this a little bit using a very, very simple thing, but let's get some overview of where the heck we're going. So last fall, the Dharmesh, the co-founder of HubSpot, released Agent.ai, and then Agentforce obviously came out last October, I believe, and they launched Agentforce. OpenAI has what they call 5 levels of agents, or I should say 5 levels of AI. It looks like this. So level one was when can't talk, 3.5 was released 2.5 years ago. Then you have reasoners, which is like the O1 models and O3 and the Claude 4 and all these different kinds. Then you have level three, which is agents. So you have systems that can take actions, which is where like tools like yourself, or you have like a Manus or a GenSpark or some of the more advanced agent type platforms are coming into play. Most of the market is round about here. Like we're still in the middle of reasoners and other stuff. Level four is innovation, which is kind of a crazy thought to think about. That's kind of like when you have, I always call this the Marvel level because you think about what Jarvis could do with Tony and innovate, and not only innovate, but he became an organizational agent where Jarvis ran Stark Industries in the movies. That's the kind of thing we're going towards is that level of agency with an AI, which is crazy. So this is where we are as a whole, in my opinion, is about in between level two and level three ish. Let's break this down to a real use case. So let's just take the process of very, very high level qualifying a sales lead. So you say, okay, a human, if the human pre-AI, let's just say no AI at all, you have to go and find lead information for whatever source you can, Google or whatever thing you can find. Then you have to manually type out an outreach email. Then you have to think about the pain points you want to identify with that person on the call. Then you actually obviously have the call. Then you log that interaction in the CRM, and then you have some sort of follow up saying, thanks for this call. Here's the things we talked about, blah, blah, blah. Very classic. Most salespeople know this pain very, very well. The next level is when we have AI. So the human is still the center. The human still governs this. So the human gets on, chats with ChatGPT with their fingers and goes, hey, ChatGPT, gather the lead information on this company, this person, this whatever. And then they go in and have ChatGPT make an email. Then they ask it questions about it. What should I ask this person? What are the pain points they have? Then they have AI write them a custom summary email after the call, and then they set up follow up and et cetera, et cetera. So this is where it starts to shift because with agents, instead of the human being at the center of this, the agent becomes the center of this. So now it's like the agent goes out and gathers information and then brings it to the human, or the agent drafts an email and then sends it to the human, or the agent gives you a proactively the questions you should ask, and so on and so forth. So it becomes the case where the agent becomes the center. The next level is where you have multiple agents in each step, and I'll give you an example in step one. Let's just imagine a world where you had an agent that specialized in LinkedIn research for personas, another agent that specialized in financial information research on like the 10K reports they just released, or another agent that goes out and looks at the market as a whole and see what's going on in the marketplace. And all of these agents all then talk to each other and deliver this really fine-tuned research package to the human saying, here's everything we could find. And every step has multiple agents through it. So they become very fine-tuned, very clean output of data that helps the human do all these things. And the human's just in the loop where the human can do what they need to do, which is focusing on the other human. Most people are here. I don't see a lot of technologies like people through like sales intel. If they use a sales intel, then obviously they're using agents. But people right now are still in the place of like, do we make an agent? Do we use like another platform? What are we doing? There's a lot of experimentation right now. So let's kind of put this together and let's look at it from a point of view from a salesperson. Imagine a world where this is the case. Top of it is the sales rep. The bottom of it is some sort of system of record, whether it's a Snowflake or CRM. And you have all these agents doing things together and they all talk together. This is where we're going, is like a world where I can then focus on, I don't have this here. I need to add this to the slide, but the human can focus on another human. Smile. I'm obviously, this is why I'm not a designer. Um, but that's where we're going to where all the back end stuff's being done for the human and they can focus on the human, which is where I think we should be in the first place. When you think about the impact of this, how much time is saved when all of this is being taken care of for you, you can amplify in 100x one person more than you could before. So think about this and let's expand this idea. And I'm going to go a little bit future case now to the departments inside of your organization. So this could be like imagine where this human is like you have a team of 10 sales reps and they're all powered by AI like this, which is crazy. The next level is when you think, okay, what if every department had that same concept where marketing had a army of agents and finance and enablement and customer success. And then on top of this, you have one mother agent, whatever you want to call it, that oversees all of this, and that's your organizational agent that understands everything going on inside the org. So let's expand this out just a little bit bigger because I'm going to show you like where we're going. Think about the Jarvis level of someone who the AI that understands what's happening in the organization and can then go out and say, hey, we need to go get another technology. And the organizational agent will go out and look at this buyer and this buyer or this seller and this seller. And the agents are talking to each other because they each have organizational agents. This is long term where we are going. And I wanted to showcase this because at the core, a crux of all of this is prompting, is infrastructure, is data. And if those three things are not working, then all of this falls apart. So we're going to get into prompting specifically because if you want to build this out either in your teams, leverage a tool like Sales Intel, like this is what governs and will, if you want to go this direction, which is again where we're going, you have to have that. You good so far? Any questions, Johan?
So far, I
Good.
can't believe that you managed to use a Star Trek somewhat reference with the spaceship in your design. That was awesome.
I know, right?
But
Okay.
I think overall, I think you described pretty well. how agents are going to talk to each other to make our job easier and
That's right.
faster to enhance us. I think it was pretty clear. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's break this down to like where we are now and what the heck do we do with this? So, um, let's talk about the basics of AI. I'm going to show you an image from GPT-3. This is obviously old, but I show it because it's a good visual of how much content is in the brain of GPT, and now it's like 100 times this. But as an example, you see things like patents and Forbes and Huffington Post and New York Times and then Reddit and Wikipedia and all this text is inside of the brain. So we're now going to shift to prompting. So I want to make sure I can give some takeaways to people to do something now with. So if all this exists inside of the brain of ChatGPT, then if you put in like a mediocre direction, like make me a cake or give me a good email for cold outreach, it's limited by the context it has. If this is the only direction it has, then it's going to go through its brain and look at random places of like saying, okay, I think this is, I should look here or maybe over here, here, here. And it will take the averages of all those things of what it thinks you're wanting and then spit out a general email message that is mediocre at best, which is not good. Right. And this is when most people get frustrated because they're not prompting it correctly, or they're not able to use a tool like a sales intel that gives them such rich context outside of what they have access to. So let's just take the basics of a buyer profile. What would we need to know in order to make a hopefully better email? We need to know the title, the industry, the company size, location, the pain points and fears. These are some of the basics. Tools like Sales Intel, I'm just take a wild guess here, make this part of it way easier. Because as an example, if I try to ask ChatGPT for some data points, it's limited to what it can gather from the internet, whereas something like a Sales Intel obviously has intel that ChatGPT as a service cannot get, which is why the platform like yours is super powerful. But let's just say all you do was a ChatGPT. Then with this context, it's going to only look at a couple places saying, okay, I know this industry and I know this pain point, and then voila, context rich specific message for you that's more applicable. This is why both prompting is important and then also tools like again like Sales Intel. And again, I'm not trying to pitch Sales Intel. I'm just making sure the point is made that when you have good context, the output becomes way better than it was before. So any thoughts with there, John? I want to make sure you have a second.
It's it's the essence of marketing. Know your audience. If you do not
Yeah,
know your audience, then you are going to be off with your message. That's for sure.
that's exactly
You're
right.
going to bake the
Exactly
wrong
right.
cake. They might
That's
be
right.
allergic to
That's
something
right.
that you're doing. This is wrong. It's not
Wrong
right.
cake. That's right. So if you remember anything from this whole message, context is king. And as long as you can do it in the instructional way for AI to consume and help you, like that's where magic happens. Again, why Sales Intel or Momentum or all these other tools are powerful because it does a lot of the hard work for you. So I like to compare, this is a horrible pixelated picture, but I like to compare prompting to rain, or I should say water. When you think about water falling down, just regular rainwater, and it falls on rock, it just falls on the rock and obviously goes down the wayside and the drains, and that's all it does. It's not powerful enough to do anything to the rock. When you focus the energy of water to a 60,000 pressure PSI water cutter, it can cut through granite. Same substance, all it is the focus. I like to use the same comparison with prompting. I'm going to be teaching some things that will be the same concept of narrowing the focus of your power of AI to where you can cut through rock with your prompting. Obviously, there's a lot to it, but we're going to start with there's a lot of different types of AI. There's text-based image, video, audio, etc. As an example, I'm going to use a text to image to kind of showcase the difference in prompting with Midjourney. I'm a Godzilla fan. John, I don't know if you're a Godzilla fan, but I'm going to go through this real quick. So, visually, to show you the differences with prompting, Midjourney, if you're not familiar, has been trained on millions and of images and concepts of visuals and imagery. So it understands like distance and different styles of art and all this different stuff. So if I go in here and all I say is Midjourney, Godzilla, I get this, which I've been a fan of Godzilla. I was 5, and my little boy in me is like screaming to itself, "That is not Godzilla! How dare you make such a abhorrent thing?" So this is T-Rex with glowing eyes. So I was like, okay, I got to prompt this better. So if I said blue fire coming out of his eyes, movie scene, et cetera, then I get this. Better than a T-Rex, but it's not quite there. So because I know that Midjourney is a visual and image I want to talk to it in its language. So I'm going to add things like Sony FE 24/7 millimeter FE 28 GM. You may not know what that is, but the Midjourney does because it's the visual component around cameras. And then I have other things like style of ArtStation poster and all these other things that adding in some context. And I get this. So when you look at these things side by side, there's a way big difference between the cakes I get based on my prompting. I love showing this because this is exactly what happens via text or via any other AI as a result when you're able to guide it with a better prompting mechanism. So I'm going to give you three keys of how to get better stuff right now, hopefully some actual takeaways. Structure or format, words have power, and examples. Those are the three keys. There's a lot of things I can go over, but I'm going to start here. So let's begin. John, my man, I'm glad you're here. Read this paragraph. You read it to yourself. You don't have to read it out loud. And tell me if this is hard to understand, easy to understand. You're a smart dude, so I'm sure it's going to be easy.
You're kind with me right now. You're gonna make it easy for me.
Yeah. So there's this, and then there's this. What's the difference? It's the same paragraph. I just did it differently. What's the difference?
As the structure, allows the AI to figure out which part of its brain it needs or its knowledge it
Mhm.
needs to use. It's templatized too, so you
That's right.
make it very easy for everyone to use going forward at scale.
Right. Right. So like the both you as a human, you don't use as much brain power because I've separated all for you, which means the AI does not use as much brain power. And then I have a couple things happening in this I want to point out. Number one, I added titles, right? And number two, I added hashtags. So AI recognizes a style called Markdown. If you go into your Google Sheet or into your Microsoft Docs and you click on the thing that says title H1, H2, H3, etc., that's Markdown. These hashtags tell the AI H1 is one hashtag. H2 is two hashtags, H3, and so on. So that markdown language tells the AI what is the hierarchy of importance of the concepts that I'm talking about, right? So just like you as a human are reading a book, if I put the title of the book in the middle of the book, you'd be like so confused, like, why am I seeing this in the middle of the book? So the order of it is important and the structure is important and it helps the AI understand what in the world you're trying to accomplish. So that means formatting and hierarchy matters. So that's number one key. Second key is this, which is words matter. So weird question for you, Johan. What's the difference? What would you say the difference is between rules and law?
Well, that's a trick question. I mean,
I know it.
rules is what we follow, I guess. Rules are things that we will be follow. Law is set and has consequences if you do not follow a specific set of rules. That's how we
That's right.
describe it. Hopefully, I did okay there.
You did great. You did great. Yeah, it's hard to go to jail for breaking rules unless you're married. Then you definitely can go to jail for that, but different type. But
That's fair.
um, but basically, it's like there's a difference in the weight of each word. Same thing with guidelines, suggestions, recommendations versus requirements. All these apply. So AI understands because it's been trained on, as we saw, millions of different texts of different concepts of words, like from Huffington Post and from patents and blah 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 blah. It understands there's a difference between law and rules. So when you combine formatting with words, it creates this again, we're narrowing the water down to a water cutter so we can get really, really focused. And most people, because, and it's not anyone's fault, we kind of have become lazy in our communication. AI is very literal. So when you become more anal, not to use a word like that, but become more anal on what words you're using, it helps the AI be better in its response because it knows exactly what you're talking about. So lastly is examples. I love using examples for AI to mimic. This guy, he's a good friend of mine. If you're in sales and you like anything with prospecting, anything at all, he's a great guy to follow. Christian Kraus, he's a good dude. Um, and this was a post he had on LinkedIn that I want to use as an example. So he posted this saying, if you want to have success with cold emails, this is what you got to do. I was like, cool, I like it. So I took this and I was like, I'm gonna make a prompt out of it. So I made this. So if I take some of the concepts we're talking about and I said, okay, I'm going to make a hashtag with the title of role and overview. You're an expert in cold email writing. What I need is an email from my company for a key persona at key industries. However, I want you to use this exact same format. Now, this format is this. I just use the same stuff and said, just do this. I added two things. Number one was this section here, right, where I tell the AI, if you don't do this now, it'd be incredibly helpful. Tell me what you need to know to help me do what I'm asking you to do. It's a great little trick. And then the last thing it is, I actually gave it an example of what this concept in theory looks like in action. So any prompt you do, when you teach theory and you give it an example, it performs way better because it understands what you're trying to do, right? And I'm going to take a wild guess that with Sales Intel, it uses the things that work well to train it on how to do more things that work well, which is nice, right? Good guess?
100%.
There we
100%.
go.
Yes.
Love it. So hopefully you can see this and use this. So I know some of you like you can screenshot this and literally you can literally screenshot this prompt, put it in ChatGPT or Claude and say, hey, tell me what this prompt is and run it, and then it'll just make this prompt for you. But this is one example of many where it takes a little bit of know-how to make this prompt to be way better than just saying, hey, make me a cold email, right?
All right. And I'll piggyback on the tell me
Please.
what else you need. What other information do you need to make this to get the
Yep.
outcome that I'm looking for? It works extremely well. I have also, because I'm lazy, I've also used a transcription tool to describe what I want. Then I
Good.
take the transcription, put it in, and say create a prompt out of that, and use that to use
Mm.
that template.
I love that. I do something similar with the custom GPT that I made that's for prompting. So I'll talk into the GPT and say, make this into a prompt and it structures it for me, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it's cool. Okay, keep going. We got 10-ish minutes. I'm going to keep going. So if in case anyone has it, this is a prompt library with momentum. I have 200 prompts that I personally wrote in here, one of which is the one I just showed you. If you guys want that, I'm happy to send it to you at all. And I want to go over one more concept because I want to help conceptualize some things. This is a concept I use in a larger 7-step process to get AI benefit. But I'm going to transition now to talk about tools. And I want to talk about it from 3 levels of like optimizing, amplifying, and reinvention. So when you think about optimize, this is when you think about AI for productivity boosts, like time savings and efficiency. So that could mean anything from all this kind of use cases from different people. So lead account matching automation to social post automation to all this different stuff. Most people, when they talk about AI, lean on this only. They talk about time savings or efficiency. Not that that's a bad thing, but to me, that's level one. It's not the hierarchy. Level two is when you start looking at AI that makes impact on revenue growth or really significantly reducing costs. And I don't mean reducing costs from getting rid of people. I mean reducing costs from um, what's wasting the space right now and adding more revenue generating activities to the humans you have. So I want to make sure that's very clear. So things like how do I get really a good coaching agent to identify deal risks and gaps proactively, or SEO content planning that is actually creating the content and posting for me, like the things that can amplify what you're doing now. And then lastly, like I told you before, is like how do we rethink about what we did before in a totally new way? That's the next level of saying, okay, what if we had an agent go through our territory and totally create all the plans, all the communication, everything for us automatically to have this stuff that just totally reinvents what we did before. So this is where, in my opinion, we're going to be going is when we start have this capability of saying we can do things totally different than before because it's better this way versus before. So, anyways, with that, I'm going to shut up for a second and we can now talk or ask questions about tools. You want to talk? Let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk about tools, especially I would say if there are tools that you recommend, that you would recommend to our audience, the tools that they really need to get their hands on and familiarize themselves with. What would they be? Let's do three that you
Yep.
think are prime for about anyone to be able to enhance
Um,
themselves.
would you like me to say things like a sales intel, or you mean like more one-on-one tools?
Any tools. I would say any tool. Look, it's all about making sure that people are the best version of themselves at
Mm,
work. And I think everyone that says that you're not going to be replaced by AI, but you'll be replaced by someone who uses AI better than you.
yeah.
So you don't
Yep.
want anyone. We don't want anyone who joins this summit to be replaced by someone who uses AI better than them. So what if there are three tools that you would recommend to them? What would they be right now?
Um, yeah, this is such a good question because it kind of depends on the persona, you know. But to give you some context, in this last 15 months, I've seen, as of yesterday, 544 AI technologies in almost over a year. And that means I've literally sat through 544 demos, and I'm not kidding when I say that. Um, and I mean that from the tools that you use one-on-one to team-based tools. And there's a lot of, I don't want to say crap because I very much respect any founder who's willing to build something, but things that are, I would say, easy to do. And there's really deep, vertical rich type tools, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
with that being said, I would be amiss to not mention Momentum. Like we're, it's a tool that I bought as a customer 2 years ago, and it's one that I'm still at and I work for because I just love it so much. So Momentum would be one if you have a go-to-market team. Um, from point of view of sales intel, I love what sales intel is doing. So I know most people here probably either know of or whatever, but I'd say from a pipeline building perspective, Sales Intel is one you have to look at, which is freaking awesome. Um, and then some other tools to consider is let's see here. I'm gonna go with some individual ones if that's okay. So
Yeah.
I love doing vibe coding and vibe marketing.
Yeah.
So there's Base 44. I've been geeking out with lovable.dev. It's one you can like create some really cool assets. So I've played around with like, I'll give you an example. My BDR team was looking for a way they could create some ROI type of use cases to send people. So I made a lovable app that they put in four things that they know about the person, like what's the size of company, what's their title, and then what's the company name, and off of that the lovable app creates for them a downloadable PDF that tells them an ROI story based on their company. It's freaking awesome. So then they can take that PDF and then send it to someone saying, hey, we made a ROI story of what we potentially could do for you with momentum for this company, so from either a pipeline point of view or marketing, I just love that kind of application of just thinking creatively of what you can give people. um, Huge fan of Claude and ChatGPT. Obviously, I use both every day, all day. The new deep research on Claude. Oh, by the way, I got to show you this real fast. The new deep research on Claude is like phenomenal. Almost every tool now has a deep research, but Claude, for whatever reason, is like super robust. Like, for example, ChatGPT uses, I don't know if you use deep research a lot, but deep research uses
I do.
100 sources. Gemini goes to 100 plus. Claude's like 400 or 500 sources every time I use it, which is crazy.
It's
So
pretty high. Yeah, they have a lot more tokens that they are making available for their deep search.
it's crazy. It's so cool. So, anyways, I actually was running a sales intel research, which I just got done. I'm going to show this to you and see what you think because I want to see. It's writing me the report right now. And I want to see. Oh, there it is, right there. Cool. Let me share my screen real quick. So, as we were talking, um, I was running a deep research project on sales intel. So, okay, here we go. So I get all this stuff, and you can see here 417 sources. It's absolutely insane, right? So I have all this exclusive report. So think about this from a point of view of like you're a salesperson, you want to do research, and if you need to get something awesome, deep research is so cool for this. And all the tools do good, but again, my favorite is in Claude, and I have all this stuff, right? So let's look at the strengths. You tell me. Does this look good?
It is excellent. I would say the marketing team did a decent job at Sales Intel on this.
It's done a good job training, huh? Okay, we're gonna
No,
skip
it
this.
did.
Okay,
It is very accurate indeed. Yes.
yeah. Okay, this look good. Personas, use case,
Yes.
persona, company profile. Okay, love it.
It
Customer
does.
feedback. Anything like this? This look good on both sides.
That's right. I can tell you the only thing they didn't find is the really big enterprise customers that we have where we can advertise on our website, which does
Right.
make sense.
It does. Yeah, because that's the only place it has access to is the internet, so it makes
That's
sense.
correct. That's correct. It's public info. Yeah.
Um, so tell me this one. This look accurate. Oops, sorry about that. Right here, 35 connection rate, 2.2 competitors, 40%,
That's
40%
correct.
boost in
Yeah.
deal flow. Pretty cool. And
Yeah.
then use case examples, alley-oop, advanced computer tech. Like you tell me if these use cases look accurate.
They do look accurate, actually. We just updated them in the last 2 weeks, so it does look
Oh, I
accurate.
love it.
Yes.
And then I don't know what the pricing is off the top of my head, so you tell me, am I we crazy here? Does this look right?
I think it sounds about right. There are some subtleties in
Probably off a
pricing.
little bit. Yeah,
Yes, it's off. Some
yeah,
things are off. It took some probably outdated information as well, but expected.
yeah. That's where you have to be aware of this kind of stuff, be critical of it. But think about it like from a point of view. I love this. I didn't ask it to do this, but did it for me anyways. But I show you this because if I wanted to approach you as a salesperson, this is super rich. Now I know a ton of stuff about you, right? That in the past, I mean, I come from the days of selling where the only thing I had was a yellow book, and that's the only way I could
Yes,
find someone. I didn't have anything else except for a
that's
yellow
right.
book,
That's right.
and this is just awesome. And from this, I could say like my target ICP in this company is the VP of marketing. Like, tell me about what do you care about, and blah blah blah. And I can have this chat about
Exactly.
this thing, which is
Yep.
awesome. So it's tools like that. I would seriously recommend Cloud Deep Research for that. There's a couple of new ones that I like a lot. If you haven't tried Manus, there's one called GenSpark.ai. I freaking love GenSpark. It's awesome.
I haven't
Um,
tried that.
it's really cool. It's a really, really cool tech. And then one that's free actually is called Napkin. It's a visual creator.
Love napkin.ai. Love it.
Napkin's awesome. I love
Describe what
Napkin.
you want. It will give you a visualization of it that you can use
It's
in
so
a
cool.
slide. It's amazing. I agree. I
So
love it.
cool. Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
cool.
it is.
So there's little things like that, but like some of the ones, like if someone's listening saying, okay, all these take money, what one would I have to buy? Um, it's really hard to get away from the ecosystem of either Claude or ChatGPT. Both are amazing. I pay for GenSpark, and it's an awesome tool because it's a multi-agent framework platform, and it creates like, anyways, it does so many cool things, which is awesome. Um, and then yeah, so I think I gave a few. So Momentum, Sales Intel, Claude, ChatGPT, Napkin, GenSpark. I think that's about it. I don't want to overwhelm people because I know a ton of them
I mean,
we could use.
this
Or
is
level and
I
level.
asked
So
for three and you give seven. I mean, this is cool.
yeah.
I hope it's going to be. I would say I've been playing with a Notebook LM lately.
Oh yeah, I love Notebook. Yeah,
Love Notebook LM. It
love
is
Notebook.
so powerful, and it's
Yeah,
so in terms of enablement and getting everyone on the same page and avoiding hallucination. It's amazing
it's
because you
awesome.
feed the content to the notebook that you want to
Yeah,
use. There's another one that I love. It's Julius.ai.
Julius is
So
cool.
I learned data science a few years ago, and Python scripts is not
Hmm.
my forte. I used to really hate having to write
Yep.
this code, and Julius is just a natural language analytics platform, and it
Yeah,
will
it's
give you
awesome.
any type of output that you want. So if you are not super um, familiar with Python, if you want to give reports, you can't go wrong with Julius
Yeah,
AI.
yeah,
Um,
Julius is good. I like Claude for that too. Like I like some of the visuals in Claude a little bit better than Julius, but Julius from an analytical standpoint is awesome. So
yeah, you can be Julius for analytical, but some people are really, or some of these tools that you describe, Claude. Even I use Gemini a lot for page optimization on
yep,
our website. Look,
yep.
Google knows about page optimization, SEO, and all that stuff. I think.
Yeah,
I think. Um,
they might know the thing.
when you use Gemini to optimize your pages, trust me, you get some pretty darn good output.
Yeah,
So
it's awesome. I'm gonna add one more if it's okay. If someone's new to the agent world, can we talk? I mean, we talked about agents a little bit, but if you want to create agents, I personally think that there's two platforms that are incredibly easy. One is Zapier, and the other one is Mind Studio. Both are really, really easy agent building platforms. Oh, and Empler. Empler's one more. Empler, Mind Studio, or Zapier. Those would be my three agent builders. And then if you want to get more complex, you can go to like a Make or an N8N, that kind of platform. But
yeah,
for beginners, I'd say try the three of those. They're very user friendly. So
sounds
very
good.
cool.
I have two more questions for you. I know we're running on the
Yeah.
out of time here, but worst AI use case you have seen in go-to-market? Just stay away from. You're gonna get burned really bad.
Oh man. I don't know if it's a specific use case. It's more of a concept. How about that? Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who are trying to use AI to replace people, and I think they do it too fast. Like an example is Klarna, when they got rid of a bunch of the people and added an AI, and then literally this last couple of months they started hiring back some of those same spots because the customers didn't like it. So I would warn people of saying like it's really easy to get shiny object syndrome and to say, hey, we can save costs or get rid of people and use AI instead. Like you got to think more long term, which is why I think it's about the human and saying how can we amplify the human and skill them up. Because for me personally, I'd rather keep 10 people and amplify them by 100 than reduce by 8 people, keep two and amplify the two by 100. You know what I mean? So it's more of that concept because most of the use cases I see that are failures are when people move too fast and they try to go, let's replace a human or let's do this whole thing with AI. And it hasn't been tested out right. It just causes major issues because we're still figuring out as humans like what we like or what we don't like with AI interaction. We're still figuring out like, do we want that or not? So
100%.
hope
If you
that's
have a
okay.
process that is not optimized, AI won't help you optimize it. It's
Yeah,
just not, it doesn't work out that way. Take something that is pretty well optimized, you have good data on, then AI will definitely help you get
that's right.
more efficient and effective. Now, and one myth you would one AI myth you wish we could squash today. Let's do it if we can.
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you my biggest pet peeve. When people tell you to treat AI like an intern, it drives me absolutely absolutely crazy. Um, and I'll tell you why, because I understand what they're trying to communicate, which is you have to be very directive. You have to, like, from that point of view, I would understand. However, if I worked with many Fortune 500 companies where the VPs of a massive Fortune 500 company is given the same directive that you could say as an intern, but he's treated like a VP. My opinion is how you treat an AI is how you'll get out the response. If I want an intern level response, I'll treat like an intern. If I want a VP level response, I'll treat like a VP. So I think we need to shift that myth around it's as good as an intern. I'm like, no, it's not. It's an IQ of 130. It's way past intern level. So if you limit yourself to think we can only get intern level, you're limiting what you can do with AI, and you need to expand your brain and think what else is there possible. The best question you could ask instead is, I wonder if, and then go experiment. I wonder if I could do this with AI,
Right.
because that is going to be the mindset that's going to make people go above and beyond any other tech, and above and beyond the person who's thinking it's an intern. So that's one thing I want to
Right.
squash right now. It drives me crazy.
And
Yeah.
it's tied with your framework, with your grace framework. You know,
Yep.
the R is for role. What role do you want your the AI to play right now? So
That's
who
right.
are you?
That's right.
I'm an expert in
Mhm.
this. You're an expert in that, and it makes total sense to me.
Uh,
Jonathan, thank you so much for this. You gave people, I think,
Pleasure.
a lot of food for thought and a lot of tools that they can use and the frameworks that they can leverage to be more successful with AI. So we'll give people access to some listicles on all of the things that you mentioned and
Mhm.
some assets that they can leverage going forward. But thanks again for sharing your expertise with everyone.
My pleasure. Always, always my pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
All right, take care.